I'm Mark, and this is the Mr. Productivity Podcast, the podcast to help solopreneurs banish overwhelm, reduce stress, and get more done. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking with Jamie Milam. She is an alignment coach and speaker, helping female entrepreneurs break free from pressure and experience peace through a powerful strategy of self-awareness. On her own at age 15 and overcoming drug addiction when she learned she'd become a mother at 19 to now successfully running 3 businesses. Jamie is no stranger to pressure. She's on a mission to share her strategy so you can live a life of peace alignment too. Before we dive into today's show, I want to invite you to sign up for the free 21-day productivity challenge. As a solopreneur, you've got a lot to do, a lot of hats to wear, and this challenge will help you be more productive at it. Invest 1 minute in reading one tip every day for 21 days, and it will transform your productivity habits in less than 1 month. To sign up for free, head on over to my website, mrproductivity.com/challenge. Remember, Mr. is all spelled out, M-I-S-T-E-R, mrproductivity.com/challenge, or click the link in the show notes. Now, on with the show. Jamie, welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Mark.
Now, I'm recording this on Tuesday, May the 9th. At 10 a.m. And the reason why I'm letting the listener know that is it is dark as night outside right now. And I was telling Jamie, I really hope that I get the podcast interview in because it is really starting to pour rain down there. So, well, listener, you'll know if the podcast goes for 30 minutes, you know we got the whole episode in, but I like to be fully transparent. So if you hear thunder, that's why in the background. So Jamie, the reason why I wanted to have you on the show is, well, we had a pre-interview call, but then when you sent me your introduction, which I just read for the listener, you started out on your own at age 15. I don't even think I was cutting the neighbors' lawns at age 15, and I was living home with mom and dad. You were out on your own at age 15?
Yeah, and I have a 17-year-old now, and sometimes I look at him and I just think to myself, like, there's no way. There's no way he could do it.
Wow. That is crazy. Now, I'm not going to ask you how you got on your own at age 15, but you also overcame drug addiction. Now, sadly, we have an epidemic in our country. I would even say a pandemic worldwide with drug overdose, opioids. Yeah, opioids, I think it is. I don't take drugs, so I'm not familiar with the names unless they're on the news. But you overcame that. And I think that is such a testimony for you going out on your own at age 15 and then overcoming drug addiction because you were behind the proverbial 8 ball just getting started in life.
Yeah. I mean, when you don't have any real boundaries or model for boundaries in your world, that's what happens. You start running with the wrong crowd and you make the wrong choices. And I was just north of you in Oklahoma at the time, and methamphetamine was a really big drug back then. I'm sure it still is today. And yeah, so in high school, I just kind of got in with the wrong crowd and did a slew of different things. But when I found out that I was going to be a mother, immediately it's like, you have to change your life. And I understand that not everybody makes that decision, but for me, there was no other choice. And so that was the epitome of what turned my life around. I say it on a regular basis. You know, my son really probably saved my life because there's no telling where I would be today if I hadn't have found out that I was going to bring this human into the world.
So you became a mom at 19. My mother, I believe she had me when she was 18 or 19. But then again, that was back in the early 60s, different time. My mom was not into drugs. She was not on her own at age 15. So different time. So you deal with a lot of women entrepreneurs. You're an alignment coach, and you have a wealth of experience on your own at 15, overcame drug addiction, mom at 19, and now you're taking that experience and you're helping people. Hey, we all have pressure. This is the pressure I was under, and I overcame it, and you can overcome it too. Is that a fair assessment of what you do?
Absolutely. You just nailed it. I am no stranger to pressure, aside from being on my own at 15 and then becoming a mom at 19. And as I mentioned, drug addiction. And part of that drug addiction meant I ended up running away from the life that I was in. And when that happened, I lost everything in my house. So when I came back after finding out that I was pregnant, I came back with a single Rubbermaid storage tote that I picked up at a Goodwill so that I could put some baby clothes in it and start collecting things for my son. And so I had that in a duffel bag, and I rebuilt my life from there. And so from that point, I felt like I was starting from a below baseline level in a negative space. So I had to rebuild in a way, and that I put that pressure on myself to provide a better life for him and for me. And it kind of just kept snowballing. Obviously, in the beginning years, it took a lot longer. But when you're starting with nothing, you choose places that are better than nothing, but nowhere near what I would live in today. But, it was slight improvement on a regular basis. And that was the thing, was continual momentum. And eventually, I will also say that it was the strategy and the structure that helped me achieve that. I would put a goal in place, reverse engineer it. When you're a single mom and you're working 2 jobs and you go back to college, full-time college, that's a lot to juggle. You have to be strategic in order to manage all of that on your calendar. So there's still some pressure and overwhelm with that as well. Now, I can say that through the years, especially over the last 3 to 4 years, I've learned that there are times that I may have actually been addicted to the progress, addicted to my work, or used my work as a distraction. And so eventually what I started to realize was I've got to take a new look at, am I doing this to also create alignment in my personal space? It's really great to build a big business and have financial success with that. And systems and structure is certainly what got me there. But now doing it in a place of peace with a whole lot less pressure means checking in with myself and making sure that those strategies and systems are working for me in a way that also allows to integrate balance into my life so that I don't hit my burnout stage, because I was so close to that.
Okay, you got me there when you said strategies and systems. My ears perked open because as a productivity guy, this is the Mr. Productivity podcast. I love systems because I think too many people are trying to do too many things on their own. And my word apparently of the last couple months on the podcast is plethora. I love the word plethora. There are so many ways you can automate, create systems, or my favorite thing to do is eliminate things you don't really need to do. And I want to camp out a few minutes on the systems that you have put in place, because I don't think too many people who are listening to this episode have had nothing. Think about it. When she had a tote of her stuff, that's all she had. And I can't even relate to that, Jamie. And I got to believe a lot of people can't relate to that, to have nothing. And you came from nothing. And now here you are, an alignment coach, and you're helping these female entrepreneurs. And so I want to camp out just a few minutes on systems. What systems did you put in place to make sure you were getting things done in the very beginning? And then we'll fast forward to today.
Yeah. And they still certainly are in the same spot. They've just transformed, right? So they still exist in my world. I would say that in the beginning, it started off with visualizing, quite frankly. It was, what is the life that I do want to have for him? And how do I vision being able to get to that? And some of that visioning is absolutely a vision board. And back in the day, the vision board started with Pinterest, right? And then it transformed to on a cork board to like a physical vision board. I have multiple things from my vision boards that I have cut out that I have legitimately seen manifest into my life. A Jeep Cherokee specifically, the same color, it shocked me after I went back and looked at that vision board. I'm like, holy cow, that was on my vision board. My house, just different things, paychecks, bank account, all the things. So that kind of was something for me because that's a mindset system. It's telling me what I want to be, do, or have. And then I'm mentally taking these steps to getting to that.
Well, let me just jump in right there because I want to make a comment on the vision board. So one of the people I really admire is Grant Cardone, and he has a very unique way of writing goals. So I use this 10X planner, one of the best planners I've ever used, where you write your goals down not once, but twice a day, once when you wake up and once before you go to bed. Now, here's the key. You don't look at what you wrote in the morning or yesterday or the day before. You just write what's ever on your heart. And eventually you're going to start seeing the same goals pop up and up. What most people do is they create goals at the end of December. If they create goals, and listener, I hope you are creating goals, and they just copy them. That's not magical. What the magic is, and you don't have to have the 10X planner. You can just get a notebook or a piece of paper and just write down specifically, what do you want? Mm-hmm. Don't worry about the how. Mm-hmm. Just write down the goals. And they've done research. People who write their goals down every day in their own handwriting have a far more likelihood of achieving them than people who just think about, well, I'd like to have a Jeep Cherokee, or I'd like to have this nice house, or I'd like to have the mate of my dreams, whatever the case may be. But when you write it down, there's a connection between you writing that goal down and your subconscious mind. Then your subconscious mind goes, oh, Jamie wants that? Let's figure out how to do that. So I just want to make sure people understand it's not just a vision board. It's not just the goals. You have to be having an open mind that says, yeah, I'm going to do this. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I am going to do this. What say you on that?
Well, actually, I want to piggyback off of that because what you're saying is a form of journaling, because journaling has been in my world for many years. And the thing about that is when you're writing it down and you're not going back and you're looking at it until, maybe a certain period of time where you can start to see some of the consistencies. What's happening is you are becoming more self-aware of what your authentic inner core desires and needs and vision is. So you're tuning out the noise of what everybody else might have an expectation of. What do they want? What does your spouse want? What do your kids want? That's not what we're looking at, not what society is putting onto you. It's what do you want? What are your goals? Why I love coupling that with a vision board is because if you keep your vision board close by your workstation, and you're looking at that every day. I know a girl that keeps it on her bathroom mirror, and you're looking at that every day. You start to envision your life in that space. And there's just so much power in your thoughts and in what you imagine. I love that phrase, from The Secret, your thoughts become things. And I wholly believe that.
Just so the listener understands, we're not talking about wishing. We're not talking about hoping. We're talking about, this is a very specific item that I want. So, listener, if you really want to make $1.87 million a year, then you write that down in your goals. You don't go, well, it'd be nice. No, don't use the words, it'd be nice. Maybe I'll get lucky. I hope. These are words that are not going to empower you towards your goals. And the reason why I'm sharing this with a listener is it's very important that people understand that the people who are killing it, who are crushing it in life, they don't live on hope. They don't live on wishing. They are very specific at what they want. And I want to encourage the listener, the more specific you get to your goals, you're going to start looking back and go, oh my gosh, didn't I write that down? So, oh, I did, because you were specific about it. You have got to give your subconscious mind very specific instructions like you did with the Jeep Cherokee. Very specific. Well, don't say, I'd like a nice car. No, that's not specific. That's vague.
Yeah, Mark, I want to add to that about, kind of going back even to the system and the strategy, because hope is not a strategy. But when you see something that you want, and if you're going to be really specific about a business idea or a level of income or a car or a trip, buying a house, whatever it might be, if it is something that you want to be, do, or have, in order for you to achieve that, you have to take the actions of that person who's going to be, do, or have that thing. What system I put into place to be able to achieve that is reverse engineering. When you are a single mom, you're working 2 jobs, you're going to college full time, this is something that I had to do. I had to look at, okay, well, here are my work hours. Here is my school schedule. Where am I going to be able to drop my son in to daycare? Who's going to be able to pick him up? Can I coordinate, my lunch hours so that I can go to campus and have a class during that time frame? Looking at all these pieces and then reverse engineering. That has been something that I have continuously done time and time again. I start now, every year in October, I do a planning session for my next year. I'm looking at, okay, I have a whole list, I have an entire worksheet, in fact, that I work off of that has my personal expenses, my business expenses, and then my life by desire expenses. And if that means that I want to buy an investment property, I'm imagining, okay, well, how much money am I going to spend for that investment property? Do I want to do it over the next 3 years, 5 years? Reverse engineer that down payment. So then now I can see how much I need to have on a monthly basis. So I have my entire target revenue. That doesn't mean this is extremely rigid, but I need to be able to budget in for the things that I truly want to have, be, or do, not just to survive. What is my number to thrive? So I can reverse engineer that. Now I see what my monthly or my weekly activities needs to be because I have my eyes on the big prize. That makes me more productive in my week so that I can achieve those things. When I want to take these trips with my son will be 18 next year. So he'll graduate high school next year and head off to college. Let me tell you, that date has been knocking hard on my door over the last 6 months. It's killing me. I'm like, how much more should I be getting in? I've intentionally taking a slow step back in my business so that I have more time to be present with him now, because I only have a year left with him at home full time. And that means that he's got bucket list places that he wants to see. Last year, we knocked out 2 of them. We're knocking out another one in less than a month. And then I've got another one on the books for when he graduates as a graduation trip for him. These are the things that are so important to me that are going to fulfill me in a holistic way, not just in my professional life. In order for me to achieve it, though, I need to be productive in my professional space. The way I do that is starting with the end goal in mind, reverse engineering that, looking to see what do I need to accomplish during that month in order to hit those revenue goals. And then I can start to put in the right systems and strategies for that specific launch or that aspect of my business to match and to be in alignment with what my big overall goal is.
Now, I want the listener to understand something. If you're listening to this podcast episode and you're like, oh my gosh, Jamie has overcome so many things, and I'm listening to this in May or June or July or whenever you're listening to it, and you're like, man, I'm overwhelmed. Take a breath, okay? Because Rome wasn't built in a day. We've all heard that expression. You making the decision that I'm not going to do what I used to do that got me here anymore, I'm going to change. That is a catalyst for you getting to the next level, whatever that level is for you. And when I want to encourage the listener, because I get a lot of this, Jamie, a lot of clients come to me and they're so overwhelmed. Oh, you got it all figured out. And you've been podcasting nearly 6 years. You've been running for almost 6 years. Yeah, I started with day one. So you need to start today based on what some of the things Jamie shared with us already and what I've shared with you. And just think, okay, what is something small? Because I'm a really big fan of small wins. What is something small you can do today that is going to start getting you moving? Don't look at how far Jamie has come if you're at the starting line, because that's going to overwhelm. And when people get overwhelmed, they want to quit. And we don't want you to quit. So I want you to pick something out that Jamie shares with you on the show today, something simple that you can do today that you can go, wow, I did that. Hey, I can do this. Then it's going to start building momentum, because that's how you got where you were. You didn't go from being on your own at 15, being addicted to drugs, then having a kid and going, oh, life was all bed roses and pineapples or whatever the expression I can't even think of, unicorns or something. But you figured it out day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute. And that's where you are now. And I want to make sure the listener who is feeling that sense of overwhelm and maybe they're having trouble breathing now, that it's okay. You can do that. You take one step at a time.
Yeah, Mark, and that is where I work with a lot of folks, is specifically around that overwhelm, because when we see something that we're working towards and we've got all of these moving parts, not just in our business, but this is life. Life throws curveballs at you every day. Again, my son's 17. He just recently got a couple of, speeding tickets that put a wrench in it because I had to take the car from him because that was the right thing to do, which means now I'm juggling getting him to and from work. That's a massive wrench in my schedule. So life does throw these things at you. But here's the trick about that reverse engineering.
Are you one of the million? Join over 1 million people, which may be a slight hyperbole, and get productivity tips that will help you live a more productive life. Head on over to mrproductivity.com/insider.
When we have this big thing and we chunk it down and we look at it to say, okay, if we wanted to do that in 3 months' time or 1 year's time, what does that look like for our actual time and the pressure that it's going to put on us? Because that's the thing that I want for the clients that I'm working with, is how do we relieve the pressure and experience peace as we're working towards this goal or this vision that you have? Because you're exactly right. Overwhelm can cause debilitation. It becomes so overwhelming that we're just done. We can't even think straight. We do the little piddly things. We're not focusing on the big things that are actually going to bring us in the revenue. So when we can break it down, then we know what is the one thing that I can do today or this week that is going to move me forward. You mentioned running. Nobody runs a marathon their first week. They have to start somewhere small. And you know what? It starts with putting your first foot on the ground when you get out of bed. Tell yourself that you're going to get up and train. And sometimes it just means one foot in front of the other. The same is true for any personal or professional goal that you have. And when we can chunk it down and reverse engineer it, and you look at it and you say, I just don't think that that's going to be what I can do in that time frame. Okay, great. Let's extend it. Nobody's telling you that you have to be so rigid that it has to be done within this time frame. What is doable that's going to make you continue to feel excited and that you're working towards accomplishing it? And so I totally agree with you. We want to prevent some of that overwhelm. And so again, breaking it down to figure out, what can I do today? What's going to make me feel like I moved the dial forward today?
A few minutes ago, I put a post on LinkedIn. It may have been over a year. And my post was all about Pareto's principle is alive and well. I believe 80% of people in the world on social media, they're struggling. They're trying to figure things out. Only 20% are like the Grant Cardones, the Gary Vaynerchuk's, the Brendan Burchards. And I shared how, and I still share that when I was fired from my corporate job back in 2005 until the end of 2021, I'd only made a total of $50,000, not a year, total. And I shared that because I talked to a lot of people and they're like, I only have a few clients. I only have one client. I said, that's okay. That's okay. Okay. You're not Gary Vaynerchuk. You're not Grant Cardone. I believe people out there are saying they're killing it. I think most people are lying. That's just my opinion. I can't prove it. Not everyone on LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok are killing it, but they all have this illusion and they're portraying this image that they are. But the listener needs to figure out where they are. And you need to get down to the truth. If you only have 2 clients or 3 clients or 1 client, or you're struggling to get your first client, then own that and say, listen, I'm doing the best I can to gain clients. I'm trying to learn the skills I need so I can grow my business. I'm trying to figure out what I should be doing. I tell my clients they should spend at least 80% of their time during the week on needle moving activities. But life is a process. No one has it all figured out. No one. I saw a video from Brendan Burchard. He's a worldwide trainer. Said, I struggle with procrastination. We all have these struggles. So if you're struggling, dear listener, know that I love you and know that Jamie loves you. And we are not sitting here saying we got it all figured out. We struggle with it too. And I know it can be overwhelming. When I listen to bigger podcasts, I'm like, oh my gosh, look at all the downloads they have. And I'm like, oh, stop. What are you doing? They're not Mark STRUCZEWSKI. They're not hosts of the Mr. Productivity podcast. It's different. And we all need to realize we need to do what we can do every day. And I think that's what helps me deal with the overwhelm. Because to your point, you can't run a marathon in 1 week. So when people find out I've run over 2,070 days in a row, I remind them day 1 became day 10, became day 100, became day 1,000, became day 2,000. It was every day. And if you want to get to a different part of your life, dear listener, you have to do things every day that are going to pull you toward your goals, and understand you will bump your shin or bump your toe from time to time, like your son and the speeding tickets, because that's life. Life is going to happen. My father passed away unexpectedly on April 27th, and I had to fly to Florida. So I was 10 days away from social media and my business. Life happens. The question is, what are you going to do when life happens?
Yeah. What systems are you going to have in place that are going to be able to run on automation for you, that provide you leverage, that can continue to move you forward in some way? Because the beautiful thing about the technology that we have in today's world is that there are systems that can provide that for you. And so again, it's about finding the right systems and strategies that are going to align with you so that you can be more productive throughout the day, that things will be able to move forward without you having to do all the little administrative things, so that you can keep moving forward in your productive space, but also in the personal spaces that matter. At the end of the day, the thing that we cannot buy or get back is more time. So we all have the same amount of time. How much more can you get done in your workday so that you can spend the rest of your time doing what matters to you in your personal relationships? Because both of them are important, and you have to be able to stay consistent. And that's the power of systems, is that, again, you can automate so many different things. You can delegate through systems. You can use leverage with the platforms. It's a beautiful thing. I love systems, Mark. I'm right there with you. And again, it's about finding systems that will integrate into the right strategy that is in alignment with what your true needs, boundaries, desires, your goals, your vision. What is it that you authentically want to achieve?
And you don't always move forward. So 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, 4 steps forward, maybe a step back. That's how life goes, because when a plane takes off from LAX in Los Angeles and flies to LaGuardia, it doesn't just go nonstop. The computers are constantly taking into consideration the wind velocity, turbulence, storms, other planes. And so that's how life works as well. As you go through, you will make stumbles. You'll buy a product and it'll turn out to be a bust. You'll launch a course and no one will buy it. And you can sit there and get upset, or you can go, oh, okay, well, what lessons can I learn from this experience? And the truly brilliant people in the world will look at the lessons they can learn. The people who are not all there yet, they'll say, oh, these people are stupid. Why didn't they buy my product? You got to learn lessons. And I've made a lot of mistakes. I would like to think I've made most of the mistakes I could possibly make already. I'll make more in the future, but I think life would be boring, Jamie, if everything happened exactly the way we wanted it to, when we wanted to happen. You write something on your goals, you have a vision board, and the next day you got it. You'd be like, this is so boring. It's like when I watch my favorite team, Manchester City, English football, when they're up 4-0 at halftime, it's like, it's boring. It's like, why am I watching this game anymore? Do you agree?
Yeah. You want the challenges. And that's what I love John Maxwell's book, Failing Forward. I'm always saying, how can I fail forward faster? Because if we're not failing, then we're not trying or challenging ourselves. And I do believe that consistency outpaces talent. And so if you are consistently failing at something, but you're still doing it in a forward momentum way, meaning you're learning from your mistakes, you're tweaking them, you're trial and erroring, you're seeing areas for opportunity. That is forward momentum, and that's okay. That is the beautiful part of this, is when you have the awareness that you are doing the activities and you're learning along the way and you're showing up consistently. And especially if you're putting yourself in bigger rooms to learn from others and how they failed forward faster, then you're going to fail forward faster too. And so I definitely agree with you. I mean, life would be really boring. Don't get me wrong. I think all of us would like to say, can we at least maybe have like a full quarter or heck, a full year of just easy going living? But life is life. It's curveballs, and it's about the ebb and flow, and how do we manage that, and how do we reduce the overwhelm, and what do we do when we're in that moment of overwhelm? How do we raise awareness, start to listen to our body, pay attention to it so that we can stop in the moment, realign, find some peace so that we can find the right activity or the one thing that we need to do today to move ourselves forward that makes us feel at peace with our journey.
And you don't have to go back too many years to get a real life example, the pandemic. So there are two groups of people during the pandemic when the world shut down. Group A says, I'm going to catch up on binge watching Netflix and all Hulu and Amazon Prime Video and Apple TV Plus. That's what I'm going to do. And people like you and me, we're like, okay, we're still going to do our podcast. We're still going to create content. And now it's over. Now we're way ahead of everybody else. They're like, how'd you get so far ahead? Because you chose Netflix. We chose getting better. And that's a real life example. I know a lot of people, and you probably do as well, Jamie, where they use that opportunity to catch up on their shows. Really? That's how you spent your downtime? I mean, I was reading books. I was taking courses. I was trying to get better so I can serve people as we emerge from this situation. But I know people, they're so proud. Oh, I caught up on Blue Bloods. Good. What are you going to do with that information? I don't understand. I mean, you maybe could start a podcast about Blue Bloods, but I don't understand that. Do you have any comments on that?
Don't get me wrong. Those first couple of weeks, I had a really good relationship with vodka, a love-hate relationship. Uh-oh. But I'm also a realtor, and we were in a shutdown stage, and that's your bread and butter business. What do we do? We've never seen anything like this. I couldn't show homes. We had closings that were getting canceled. So life was a little crazy, but I really, again, it was about pausing and saying, what do I envision for myself? Where do I envision this going? What does my gut tell me? And for me, it was, I think that when everything opens back up, the floodgates are going to open. And so in order to be prepared for that, I needed to continue to do my work. I needed to continue to be in motion. And at the same time, the pandemic also gave a space for you to slow down a bit, to pay attention to where were you at with your personal relationships? And hand on my heart and honest to God truth, for me and my personal relationships, I was failing. Everything on the outside was doing great. My systems, my strategies had helped move my business forward. But on the inside, everything was imploding. My marriage was falling apart. We were in counseling. We soon would be in a separation and now are divorced. But what I learned through that was I really needed to take time to slow back down, to pay attention and do the things that were important to me and to create boundaries around that. And quite frankly, I still have nights, Mark, where Netflix is my friend, and it's a conscious decision, right? I tell myself, you know what? I need to just tune out everything. And my brain does tend to work in just boredom and productive mode. So I like to be busy. And sometimes that's the only way I can turn my brain off, is going into something that's entertaining. But I certainly wasn't able to spend the entire pandemic that way. But the pandemic certainly has given me that opportunity to realize what's important. As many of us saw folks lose loved ones, you realize what's important and how do I want to spend my years, because we're not guaranteed another day. But as long as we do wake up breathing, we have the opportunity to start over and start towards a momentum every single day. We get that choice. It's our life. You only get one, so live it in a way that is providing you what you really, really want. And if you really, really, really want to not have to think forward and be in a Netflix space, cool. I mean, I have a feeling you're not listening to this podcast if that's you, but I mean, people should do what's in alignment for them. And sometimes you do need a little bit of time for maybe some vodka and some Netflix, but
100%.
You can't stick with that for a whole year, can you?
Exactly. Well, prime example, my father, when he went to the emergency room on April 26th of 2023, I thought that he would be in the hospital for 3-4 days like he had been in the past and be home. And then I got the call at 3:47 in the morning and says, hey, your father, he had a heart attack and he passed away. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? So I didn't expect it. My mother had Alzheimer's for 4.5 years. I knew that she was going to die because Alzheimer's kills you. But my father was unexpected. He's gone to the hospital and come home, gone to the hospital and come home. He's 82 years old, pretty active. And so it was a shock. And I did not anticipate it. But that's what life gave me. And I had to live. I'm not going to stop living. So I want people to understand you will go through pressure. You will go through stress. You will go through bouts of overwhelm, and just do what you can in the moment. Maybe you just have to go outside, close your eyes, take some deep breaths, something small. But look, Jamie gave you a ton of things to think about and implement in the show. But before I ask her the final question, which is, where can we find out more about you? I want to know, now you're not that old, so this is not going to be that far long of a trip for you. Some of my guests are much older than you are. They're more like my age, like 57, 58 years old. But if you could get in the time machine, ironically, I picked the age of 15, which is just so happens to align when you were on your own. But if you could go back in time to age 15, what wisdom, insights, knowledge do you have now that you wish you could tell your 15-year-old self?
I would tell my 15-year-old self, you are worthy, value yourself, create boundaries, respect them for yourself, protect them, and you will get wherever you want to be. When you do that, when you value what you want, what you desire, what you need, and you stand up for that, you will go far.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. So you got a lot going on. I did check all your links. You're a realtor. You rent your Airbnb. You've got a course. You've got a podcast. Tell us how we can find out about what Jamie Milam's doing in the world.
Yeah. Best place is whatever platform you're listening to this episode on. You can go search for Determined AF. That's my podcast where you'll find all the different things that we're talking about for both alignment in your strategies and systems, as well as your mindset and self-awareness. And if you're a social media person, you can find me on Instagram at Ms. Jamie Milam.
Okay. And the AF probably stands for something we can't say on the show.
Correct.
Okay.
But you literally just search for the, Determined AF.
Right. Well, it's just funny because I get a lot of compliments that my show is clean because people listen in their car, the podcast. And so I elected from July 7th, 2017, I launched the podcast and I decided in the very beginning it would be a clean podcast all the way through. I want to thank you so much for being on the show today. You are a delight to have on the show. Lots of energy. Very few guests can keep up with my energy, but you did. So good job on that. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your insights and your story with us.
Absolutely. Again, thank you so much for having me, Mark. It's been such a pleasure.
Hold the phone. Do not stop listening right now. I have a huge favor to ask of you on behalf of Jamie and myself. If you found value in this episode, which I know you did, would you please smash that share icon on whatever podcast player app you're listening to right now and share this episode with 2 or 3 of your friends. Let us help them like we helped you. And don't forget, if you want to sign up for the free 21-day productivity challenge or find out about anything else I'm doing in the world, the way to do that is go to MrProductivity.com, MISTER, MrProductivity.com. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Mr. Productivity Podcast. I'll be back real soon with a brand new episode. But until then, remember, stay productive and stay positive.